Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome. Have you ever asked yourself, what is my relationship to satsang? What is my relationship to sadhana? What is the purpose of my practice? This meditation that we did together this evening or today, depending on where you are, was to point you back into this already present awareness, which you are, and which is always here and is always immediately present for you, if you remember. So there's just a simple reminder to settle, to be here, to be now, to remain alert, to know simply, directly, that you are aware in any given moment. The reason I ask you, have you ever asked yourself, what is my relationship to sadhana, to practice, to satsang? It's because I want you to ask yourself, is your sadhana a reflection of your already aware and awakened state of being, consciousness, and bliss? Do you come to share this awakened being, the joy that comes from knowing who you are? Or do you come to solve a problem? Of course, every one of us at some point has come to spiritual life and to spiritual practice, having realized that the life we've been living is not fulfilling to us. And so in some way, we all come to satsang, to sadhana, to inquiry, out of the reflection that life is a problem that we need to solve. So recognizing the inherent suffering or problematic nature of this mind and this body and this search for happiness is a great motivator. It causes us to want to know, who am I? And is there a way out of this suffering? But interestingly enough, if you really reflect on that moment in your life, when you realized that the life you were living was lacking in something, and you began to look within yourself and ask the question, who am I? What's aware here? What is this life about? This was the first moment of your initial awakening. When the search for happiness and joy turned from looking outward to looking inward. Typically, though, what happens for most people is there's a period of time, short or long, where this recognition of the inherent nature of the search outward to be that of suffering or of discontent, or however you experienced it or are experiencing it. This force that turned you in, causing you to look away from body, mind, and world, and look toward the heart of being, toward the source. This way of problem solving in the past simply won't work now. But many of us go on for years and years trying to solve the problem of life, of living, using the tools of problem solving in the world. And I'm not saying that there aren't problems that need to be solved in the world. Certainly, if there are things for you to do, there are things for you to do. If you need a job, you need a job. If you need a house, you need a house. These are things that you can solve. But if you want to know who I am, the problem-solving techniques of the intellect will fail you over and over and over. So be honest with yourself. What is your relationship to sadhana? Are you really trying to solve a problem still? Is your life a problem? Is your mind a problem? Is your body a problem? There may be difficulty in those areas. You may have health problems. You may have mental health problems. You may have financial problems. You may have relationship problems. Is sadhana one of your problems? If you approach spiritual life as an attempt to solve some problem, you will keep failing over and over and over. This is good. But I'll tell you a secret. You don't need to do it that way. What do I mean? Let your sadhana, let your practice, let your satsang with yourself become a reflection of your happiness. Sit in joy and in presence. Know yourself as awareness itself, that which is here now. This is going to require of you that you stop using your meditation, your silence, as that time in which you try to solve the problem of your life. In this moment, when you know the only thing you know, I am aware. I am here now. You are already free. Don't pick up the story of the problem you're trying to solve. Come to sadhana. Come to silence as the natural and direct experience. I am. Know yourself to be here now as being, consciousness, and bliss. Just for a short period of time, each day, 15 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Let yourself know that you are aware. Check in throughout the day. Am I aware? Yes. Rest. It is this resting in awareness as being consciousness, which ultimately will transform all the outward features of your life. You don't need to do it. Give up this relationship to your life as though your life and everything in it and everyone in it and even your spiritual practice is a problem. Let your spiritual life, let your time in sadhana, let your time in spiritual practice reflect your nature as being consciousness and bliss. Nothing else matters. Let it transform you. You don't even need to do it. Put down this you and be here now as that which is aware, and all is well. All right, I invite you to bring your questions and comments now. Please raise your hand or raise a hand. Hello, Alberto.
Hi, Rishi.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Of course, yes, please go ahead.
I'm joyful to stay here with all of you, beautiful Sangha, and I'm grateful for this. My question is about, please, Rishi, tell me now if you don't understand me, because my English is kind of Spanglish, so it's not very good, but I try my best. So, um, my question is about desires and fears. In this path, desires are not very good because desires take you to pain and take you to um, a state of not calm. So, but there is some desires, because this morning I was in a city in Spain, in Avila. Avila is a old and beautiful city. It's full of church, cathedral, and convents and monasteries. So in this city was born Santa Teresa de Jesus. I don't know if someone knows Santa Teresa de Jesus. Was a saint in Spain, famous saint. Was kind of revolution of in the Catholic Church, because it was a mystic Christian who feel good inside her, and she had a very 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 strong love for God. And my question is: it's good to have a desire, uh, a very strong desire for God, or for the love of God, or for the self, or for the destruction of the veil of Maya? That kind of desires are good or are not good in this path?
Yes, of course. What has brought you here?
The desire for God, for the self.
Yes. But whose desire is this?
I think it's a desire from my heart, from it's a desire for my profound feeling of love for the teachings or for the self.
If this is a desire from your heart,
Yeah.
then follow it to the source.
Yeah.
Use the desire in this way. Follow it to the source.
Mm-hmm.
What is the source of this desire? Have you seen it?
The source of this desire, I think, is the self, or the pure awareness.
Yes. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
But for you now, this is still a concept. I can tell just by the way you say it, the hesitancy in your voice. So understand that I'm giving you a direct pointer. If you want to make this your own, follow this desire to the source. The source is not you.
So, the question is, who is having this desire?
You can ask this question if you like, of course, or you can simply look at the desire and follow it to the source. Ask yourself, where is this desire coming from? This will take you back to the source. Follow it. This desire is a feeling which you have, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah.
It's not just a random thought. It's a
It's
feeling.
not, sorry?
It's not just a random thought. You are frozen. Okay, there you're back. Okay. Yeah. This is not just a random thought.
Yeah. So
right?
this desire is a feeling, it's not a thought. Because if this desire is a thought, it came from the mind, not from the heart.
Right. So this is a feeling that you have. This desire is a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling.
You feel it in the whole mind and body.
Yeah.
You feel it in the whole mind and body.
It's my feeling. Because
is it?
I don't have. Yeah.
Alberto, is it my feeling? Or is
Yeah.
it a feeling?
I think it's my feeling.
You are claiming it. Okay, so follow it back to its source. Follow it back to its
Mm-hmm.
source. Where does this feeling come from?
Okay, I will do.
Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Hello. Come in, Coco.
Hello, Rishi. Namaste. So nice to
Namaste.
see you. Hello.
Namaste. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your words and for this space, like always. Thank you so much. I would like to ask you if you could maybe add something what you just said about the meditation, like before, because I use meditation, for example, like you said, we should not try to find the solution of our problems in the meditation, but just to feel the pure awareness and consciousness, and the rest come from itself.
Pure I am presence might be a better way of putting it.
Yes, yes. So the way, for example, I use meditation is sometimes related to try to find actually the solution of some problems of my life, but it's not like maybe sometimes I go into the meditation with the intention to feel something, to put my presence during the meditation um, related to some feelings maybe I have within me, so that the energy of the meditation goes there within me. And what I'm trying to explain is that when I feel the presence in the meditation, when I come back to the awareness and to the silence, actually I don't have to ask myself anymore if I need to find some solution, some answer for some question I have, but it just happens naturally within me.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can maybe tell something more about that, if you.
So understand that what you're calling meditation to problem solve, this is fine. This is one way, certainly, of approaching the problems, feelings, and so on that we have in life. I'm not in argument with that at all. Certainly, you're much more likely to come up with a solution to some challenge that you're facing in your day-to-day life if you first go into a state of calm presence or awareness and then work your way through using the intellect, work your way through or to some solution. And you might actually open the door to wisdom, which solves that problem in a way you hadn't thought of before, in a more creative way. So this is definitely not the problem. This also doesn't solve the question, who am I? So when I'm talking about this practice of awareness as awareness itself and using this as silence, I'm addressing directly the way to understand who am I, not to solve the relative problems of living. So both are applicable in different circumstances. But understand that there's a reason why one does not necessarily transfer to the other. And that is because when you are using a state of calm or clear reflection to solve a particular problem, this I, which you relate to as yourself, which you call you, which has the perception, subtle or gross, that you are the body or you are the mind or you are the problem solver, this will not break down this false sense of me. It might be a helpful way, and is a helpful way, to approach how you solve problems in your day-to-day life, but it won't undermine it won't come to the solution or the direct perception that comes at the end of the inquiry into who am I. It just won't happen, because you have to maintain this I, which has the problem, which needs the solution. You have to maintain this I in order to do that kind of problem solving. It's required. There has to be a me, which is looking at a problem or looking at a situation or looking at a person, and then tries to find a solution to that, using the intellect, using all the tools that we have available to us, and at some point using the innate wisdom which we have within ourselves. But it won't solve the problem, who am I? So when I'm speaking about not approaching your sadhana or your inquiry as a problem-solving technique, I'm talking about understanding the pure nature of being consciousness as awareness itself, and coming to that place so that not only wisdom, but the wisdom of action can work its way in the world through you. Okay? And in this way, there's no necessity for there to be a me solving a problem. Because wisdom, awareness, presence, wisdom, action is going to solve the problem from the space of the recognition of being consciousness. So just understand there's a distinct difference between those two, but it's a superficial difference, because if you actually come to the understanding of who you are, understanding I am that which is aware, understanding the answer to the question, if there is an answer, who am I, and understanding your true nature, this solves all those other problems and permits right action, wisdom, which moves into action, which undertakes the expression of being consciousness in the world. And that solves all the other problems. Through the recognition that there weren't any problems to begin with. That the perception that there is a problem is one of the ways in which the mind veils or masks the direct perception of being consciousness, and reinforces the sense that there is a me who now has a problem, and this me and this intellect has to solve this problem. Now you are busy solving the problem. This may be well and good in your day-to-day existence, but as I said, it's not going to solve the underlying question, who am I, or what is aware here? So if you solve the underlying question, you solve all the rest of the questions. If you solve those other questions, you can spend a lifetime solving those kinds of questions one at a time, and get to the end of your lifetime and still not have solved the question or asked the question in a deep way, who am I?
Yeah. Thank you.
So when you enter your meditation, if you want to solve the problem using wisdom, be clear about what you are doing. Open yourself up, calm yourself down, understand what's happening, but understand that you're problem solving. That's not an issue. That isn't a problem. You are problem solving. You are not inquiring. Because this I has to be there in order to engage in that problem solving activity. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
This is always about knowing exactly what it is you're doing and knowing the ways in which mind and conditioning co-ops the process of inquiry. So in a way, I can say, if you solve the second problem first, which is to do the problem-solving meditation, you never get to the first problem. I don't like to call it a problem. That's what I'm talking about, is don't call your sadhana a problem. But in this scenario, if you solve the second problem first, you never get to the first problem. So you solve the second problem, and then another second problem comes up, and you solve that one, and then another second problem comes up, and you solve that one, but you never ask the question, who am I? You are too busy solving problems. So solve the first problem first. It's not a problem, but solve the first question first, and the second question will take care of itself. Of course, in order for that to happen, Coco, there has to be some degree of faith. You see, there has to be some degree of faith in the teaching and in what you are learning. Because if you have no degree of faith in it, you will keep going back to the conditioned mind to try to solve the difficulty. So it does require that leap of faith, that you are learning and you are growing and you are perceiving in a way that is different from the way you have perceived in the past. And now you have to be willing to test that perception. If you keep going back to the problem solving in the old way of conditioning, you will just keep reinforcing that. You will keep reinforcing the mind that says, this is how I solve problems. And it doesn't have anything to do with awakening. It doesn't have anything to do with liberation. It doesn't have anything to do with the inquiry.
Yes.
That's what the mind will tell you, because this is the way that the mind veils and masks and hides behind its own self-value and diminishes the value of the teaching.
Yes.
So just be aware of what's going on in the mind.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, since the moment I met you, I'm trying to train my mind this way, the way you teach, as you just said, when I get into my meditation, to ask myself the question, who am I? Who is aware of that? And just feel the presence of this moment, and then stay there and not think about, okay, I need to solve this problem in my life, so I need to bring now the energy there. But I stay there with the energy, I stay in this question, who am I? Who is aware of that? And I just stay there. And then energy will flow after the meditation and in the life. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And so you can do this right now. This doesn't need to be a purely intellectual discussion we're having here. You can actually do this right now. You can notice. I can ask you, are you aware? And you say, what?
Yeah, I say, yeah.
Yeah, you are aware.
Yeah.
Now, if you just stay there right now, if you are just here now, awareness is here. Correct?
Yes.
What are the problems?
Yes. That's all. Yes.
You see, you have to divert this attention away from the recognition that being consciousness, awareness is here now, into the perception of problem or the perception of difficulty. You have to divert into that and then make the effort to solve that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are here now, in the beautiful bliss of this moment, knowing that you are aware,
Yes.
Is there joy?
Mm.
Presence?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's time for the problems later, if you need them.
Yeah.
Once you discover this moment of being consciousness, which you are, desire that in Alberto's terms, cling to that. Realize you are here. And in this moment of recognition, there is happiness. What else do you need?
Yeah. Thank you, Rishi.
Yes, you're welcome. Now, please understand, all of you, that these moments of belief or experiencing that there is a problem, this may come back over and over. But this is just the conditioning of a prior way of thinking or a prior way of perceiving. If you meet it each time with this recognition, that which is aware is here now, and I am that. And come back even to this single moment of recognition of awareness. Eventually, you will undermine that whole pattern of conditioning. There won't be any difficulty or any circumstance which causes you to lose sight of the fact that you are aware being consciousness in this moment. Whatever the conditions are, whether they be physical, emotional, mental, relationship, financial, you will understand from this place of knowing that you are not that. Those conditions are just conditions. They are there, they are challenging, they are difficult, but they are not who I am. So continue.
Hello, Rishi.
Hello, Ellie.
Hi.
Very nice to see you.
Very nice to see you too. I was wondering whether to ask this question or not, and then I realized I tend to be the one who asks the question that sometimes I don't want to ask. So I thought
Okay.
maybe you
Good.
speak to somebody else. So I'm having some quite strange experiences at the moment. So I've come back, for those who don't know, just to give a little bit of background. I come back from India, where I had a very blessed time. Was able to attend satsang and be in your presence and ask numerous questions. And I came back to my parents' houses. So I was with my father first, and then I'm now with my mom. So very different. I've been living on my own for 12 years, and I'm now staying with my parents. So almost the opposite scenario. And I'm experiencing a lot of very strong emotion this last week. So I've been back for about a couple of weeks, 2, 3 maybe. And I'm experiencing a lot of anger, actually. It's coming up very quickly, very strongly, and I'm being very reactive in a way that it's quite surprising to me. That it literally felt like I regressed of a few years' time. So, and it's only towards one of my relatives, let's say. It comes up, and it's unexplained most of the times. It's over silly things, and it's towards someone who's loving and caring. And the thing that made me share this is when you said, realize you're not that, because actually I can't quite recognize myself. So sorry about the long speech. I guess the question is, for anyone who could find themselves in a similar situation of mine and for me, could this be the mind trying to hijack the processes, the progresses I made, and just trying to claim me back, because I'm in an environment in which I don't have my independence. I'm surrounded by things that are familiar to the person I used to be. And I just wonder if, because I don't want to not take my responsibilities in all of this. It really feels like a battle and a struggle with this really strong fire. So I was just wondering if it could be, by any chance, a sort of another way of a mind attack. you
Yes,
call them
definitely.
one.
Yes. So the first thing I want to say is that it is a very common experience so much so, this going home experience, so much so that in spiritual circles, there's an actual expression that goes something like, so you think you are enlightened? Go spend a couple of weeks with your family. And this relates, really, it's funny, but it also relates directly to what you said. Is this the mind trying to pull me back by a few years? No, it's not trying to pull you back, but understand that when we walk away from our family, I think you said it's been 12 years now or something, that when we walk away from our family and we make our way in the world, we are so preoccupied with making our way in the world, we only deal with those aspects of our conditioning that are triggered by what's currently in the environment. And because this is such a big task, we often put aside all of the conditioning that's related directly to the biological or birth family or the adoptive family, whoever we grew up with, whoever participated in that level of conditioning, teachers, family members, and so on. we have a way of being able to put that aside and needing to put that aside so we can focus on what the new project is, the person we are becoming, and we only deal with those aspects of conditioning related to our childhood that are prompted by the current experience. So we don't go about dredging up all the unfinished business with our parents, our siblings, our aunties and uncles, our neighbors, and so on, our teachers. We don't go about dredging all that up because we've got enough on our plate already. But when we show up 10, 15, 20 years later, and we are on a spiritual path, and we believe that we've now got a firm footing in the new ways of perceiving our lives, the new ways of perceiving experience, we can become sure that it won't be a problem for us when we go back into that, say, birth family situation. It's never true. So I would just encourage you to see what you are experiencing as an opportunity, not as a mind which is throwing you back years. You're not devolving.
Good to know.
What you are being asked to do, however, is to see the ways in which there's still a deep conditioning related to the birth family. And the practice still essentially is this recognition that, as difficult as it is, you are willing to burn this up or be burned up by it. You don't need to believe that you are 14 anymore, or you are 12. You are not. But there may still be some unfinished business there that has to be dealt with. And this is maybe what you're experiencing as anger. Let me ask you this question. If you are experiencing this anger, are you experiencing this as an inner volcano, or are you also spreading this all around in the room and to everybody who's in it?
I'm experiencing it as an inner volcano, definitely. And then I have been struggling to keep myself, well, in interactions. It's been also, I've been very reactive, so it came out, and I've been affecting someone else, which is far from what I want.
Yeah. So understand that what's happening here is if you have it coming as an inner volcano, then the solution in terms of sadhana is to be able to just stand in it and let that wave pass. Let it come, let it burn you up, tear you down, however you perceive that, and then watch it move on. Okay? Just watch it move on. If it overwhelms you and you become the volcano in the relationship, then there's nothing to do but be as present as you can be and be open to solving the difficulty with that person, because it's not an indicator that you are doing something wrong. It's an indicator that there is a joint resolution that's required. And you cannot take responsibility for the resolution of 2 or 3 sides of a relationship. You cannot. You can only resolve that when everyone who has an input into that conditioning and into that circumstance is aware and present for that to happen. Your task in that case is to be holding the space of awareness when the other, apparent other, may not be. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
If you are able to keep quiet, then it makes no difference how much the volcano is going off inside you, right? You just wait for the explosion to subside, right? This is the wave ocean analogy. You are the ocean. So you are just wait, the wave is coming and it almost wants to knock you down, but you just keep quiet. You remain as you are. You remain as aware as you are able to. You acknowledge this is anger, this is frustration, this is conditioning, whatever, and you allow it to dissipate at some moment. You don't force it away, but you allow it to dissipate. And it's amazing how much you can hold in this open space of awareness. So this is not you repressing the conditioning, repressing the anger, not speaking your truth. It's none of that. This is opening the space of awareness so that this giant wave or this giant explosion can happen within the vast space of awareness, because it's all happening in a space which is much bigger than the wave is taking up or the volcano is taking up. It's a much bigger space if you open the heart to it. If you don't, you will clamp down and try to suppress it, try to repress it, try to say, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be thinking this way, I shouldn't be feeling this way. No. Open the space of the heart for all of this, the full catastrophe, so that it can go through. You can hold that space. And you get better and better at holding it the more you practice it. But once there's another person in front of you, then what you can do is use your ability to hold that space of the heart to hold everyone who's in that space. They can be shouting at you, calling you names, telling you you are stupid, telling you you don't understand, telling you you don't get it. It doesn't matter. If you are the space of awareness, you can hold all of that. And you can let it flow through the space. It can be very difficult. You can speak your mind, but you can speak it with compassion. You can speak it with wisdom and self-knowledge rather than anger. Takes some practice, but it's worth the practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
If I may just add, the strangest thing is that this is someone who's a loving relative who's not even attacking. And this person is aware of energy in a very intuitive, awakened way, let's say.
Yeah, this is now good, very good. This is even better.
Okay.
So then you have to stand in the relationship.
Yeah.
But it's standing in the relationship with as open a heart as you can possibly bring to it. So how do I keep my heart open? I don't identify with me. I identify only with the self, with the open heart.
Okay.
You see, it's the me that is reactive, that wants to punch, that is angry. That is the sense of me, the identification with the body-mind. That's what wants to do that. Turn your identification toward the heart, the open heart of being, and be in the relationship. See it as one big wave. And now you better learn to surf.
Thank you.
Always in this way of being, we have to remember not to collapse into this identification with me. This is the primary practice, no matter what is going on in the externals, in the circumstances, in the relationships. Identify with the heart of being, and all will be well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hi, Rishi. Hi,
Yeah.
brother. Hey,
Oops,
simple question.
just
I've
one
heard it
second.
said
I'm
that
not,
this
I
is
don't
really
have you. I don't have you yet. Hang on just 1 second, Michael. I don't have you yet.
Okay,
I'm trying to get to
maybe
you.
I'm not to be found.
No, I can see where you are. I just can't get you up on the screen. I'm trying to get you up on the screen. Okay, gotcha.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so simple question. I've heard it said that this is really simple. Would you agree?
I lost you there. Your signal, I'm getting a message that your signal is weak and I missed your whole comment. So can you make it again?
I'll try. This is a simple question.
Okay.
It said that this is a really simple thing.
Yes.
Simplicity, simple. Would you agree?
Yes. There's an inherent
Simple.
simplicity. There's an inherent simplicity to the recognition that you are. That is inherently simple. Yes. And if no mind rises and separates you from that realization, you're finished. It's only when the mind rises, so the mind is not a problem, it's just a tool. And when the mind rises and brings with it prior conditioning and prior perceptions based in conditioning, then it becomes complicated. But this is just the tendency in the mind to proliferate. If you are able to stay with the empty presence here, now, it's very simple. Yeah, it takes no effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you, Rishi.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read one comment now. Something here gets triggered. The way you keep repeating, am I aware? It gets confusing for someone, in quotes, here, though it is totally obvious. I think it's supposed to be what you refer to. This one rather prefers you say awareness is here, though. So typically, when I ask the question, am I aware? I'm doing that to give you a very simple pointer that you can ask within your own experience at any time throughout your day, throughout your meditation. Am I aware? This just causes you to check in. But problem or the difficulty, let's say, that you are pointing out is also one that was brought to Bhagavan Ramana and was a criticism of, and I'm not saying you're criticizing, I'm saying that it was a comment or a criticism that often came up among people who challenged his use of the who am I question, saying that this I pointed toward, reinforced this identification with the me, with this you, with mine. The reason I often switch almost always directly from am I aware or are you aware to that which is aware is here now is because this is pointing further beyond the I. So the way that inquiry traditionally has worked is it brings us directly to the recognition of I exist or I am aware. And then it points out that to look in one direction is to look back into yourself, me, mine. To look in the other direction is to look into that which is aware. So one can say that the use of the I in the question, am I aware, or who am I, or what is aware here, this is pointing to the balance point in ordinary awareness between yourself and the self. So we come to this using whatever is most comfortable for us. Who am I? Am I aware? But it's not with the intention of reinforcing an I, but rather that at some point we come to understand that to look in one direction is to look into yourself. To look in the other direction is to look into the self. And looking into the self and doing nothing else, resting there, remaining as this perception, I exist, one will ultimately be pulled in quite naturally and without any effort into the recognition of being consciousness, which understands that it is not an I which is here, but awareness which is here. So if you have come to the point where am I aware is in fact not suitable for you anymore, or maybe it never was, but let's say it's not suitable for you anymore because there is this feeling perception that it's reinforcing an I, then simply go to what is aware here and recognize that that which is aware is eternally here now. You are that. Nothing else is necessary. So I hope that's helpful.
Hi, Rishiji.
Hello, Ron.
Good to see you.
Yes, likewise.
I'm not entirely clear how to articulate this, but there was something certainly interesting of the whole discussions on there's no problems, which I've heard many times before, but probably am not internalizing, at least not consistently. And then my mind went into, well, what is the definition of a problem to begin with? Also tying into the other question, I forgot the name of the lady had with her family. Is that a problem? So it seems to be that tying into to what practice is and that part of the talk, that if there is a problem, it's misidentifying throughout whatever it is, whether it's meditating or working or relating to your family.
Yes.
Identifying with a personal self.
Yes. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And understand that really what I would like everyone to do is to begin to live from a place where we're not defining our experience as a problem. So perhaps that what we begin to do is change our perception a little bit. And maybe it looks something like recognizing that what's arising here now is an opportunity, and maybe going into a deeper reflection about how is this an opportunity? How can I use this to recognize presence and awareness itself? I was trying, maybe not too effectively, but I was trying to point out that when we come at, whether we're coming at something, some event or opportunity in life, or we're coming at practice, we're coming at sadhana as though it's a problem, that is a mindset. And that mindset is based in conditioning. And it actually limits our ability to remain open and unidentified with the conditioning. So perhaps better if we can come at both sadhana and life, being grateful for the opportunities that are in front of us, for what is here now. If there's, you see, if there's a situation which we can affect through intellectual problem solving, we will do that just out of habit, just out of conditioning. But that doesn't mean that we have to identify what's in front of us as a problem. As soon as we do that, we begin the process of limiting the possibilities. And we begin to narrow the focus away from, one can say, wisdom solutions, maybe, which can only come up when the heart and mind are open, not when we're pushing back against or pursuing the solution to a problem. It's the whole mindset that we are somehow living in a life which is problematic, rather than a life which is open and generous and an opportunity to learn about oneself and the world and what we're experiencing. And how can I use this as part of my sadhana, part of my recognition that being consciousness is the foundation of all of this.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. And
Good.
I guess the main challenge is dropping the conditioning of a mind that's been very well developed and seeing a problem as something to fix with the intellect mostly. A desired outcome that is known ahead of time.
Yes, or has a predictable path to follow.
And so it requires suspending that, basically, even if you're going to use the intellect, to be open to the possibility that maybe what you have in mind is the solution is not the actual solution.
Yes, very good. And that's important that you say that, because it's important to understand that we're not talking about suppressing or suspending the intellect which solves the problem. We're talking about suspending the perception or the belief that there is a problem so that the intellect can actually be used as a tool, but now coupled with the heart of being so that we come to a wisdom solution in addition to an intellectual solution.
Yeah, that's definitely an inquiry for me how to. Yeah.
Good. Good, because that was the reason I wanted to speak about it today, was because I've had this conversation in the last couple of weeks a couple of times, so I know it's on people's mind in the satsang that somehow the ways in which we have been trained, and we have trained ourselves, and our societies have trained us to approach life as though it is a lived problem rather than a lived life. That this is also something that spills over into people's moment by moment awareness when they're sitting quietly and trying, as Coco mentioned, many people are sitting on their cushions, sitting in meditation, and what is actually happening is not inquiry. It's not the recognition of being consciousness is here now. It's rather we're solving life's problems by sitting on the cushion. You may get some good answers in that. I think you will. Some wisdom will come through just through the process of taking things to the cushion. And however far along you are in that level of maturity, you will gain some peace and some quiet, and in that space, some solution may come, which is a combination of wisdom and intellect. That's not going to undermine this belief that you are a separate entity. And interestingly enough, when you solve that particular quandary about whether you are a separate or a unified entity, all the rest of it gets resolved in some way. It doesn't mean that you still don't have to deal with your body when it's not feeling well, or it's not behaving the way you would like it to, or you don't have to deal with your business, or you don't have to deal with the people in your life. It just means that you will continue to use all of those experiences as an opportunity to open the heart and to awaken being consciousness, rather than setting those things aside and saying, well, this is spiritual and this is my life, because that's what I see happening a lot.
Yeah, I have a black belt in doing that.
Okay, good. Then we're talking to you tonight. Ultimately, we want to come to this place where we begin to realize that everything that is here is really about life itself, which is our spiritual life. And we need to begin to view what's rising and what is happening both on and off our cushion, or in or out of our sadhana, parent sadhana, as an opportunity to grow in awareness and in being consciousness.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay. Hope it's helpful.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, everyone. The joy is always to be with you, to spend time with you, to speak with you in this way, to live in this enlightened community as being consciousness. May you be well. May you be happy. May you understand your inherent nature as being consciousness, liberated here now, in this moment, as your true self. Hari Om Tat Sat.